Debbie, you're muted if you're trying to say something.
Hi, Khalid. How are you?
Doing well, Debbie. How are you?
Good. What's going on?
Nothing much. Just another Monday.
Yeah. Good to see you.
It's good to see you as well. Good to see you.
So
Everything's
we
well?
have Elizabeth on here.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Are you, Elizabeth, are you a committee member or?
I wasn't a committee member. I just saw that this was related to the EDC, and so I was curious.
Oh, okay. Welcome.
Thanks.
So we usually give like about 15 minutes so that people can join us. So, we're 1 minute after 7 now. So hopefully we'll have others joining us by
Okay.
that time. Okay, just to let you know.
Thank you.
And Khalid is Khalid, did you introduce yourself, Khalid?
I did not. My name is Khalid Nixon, community assistant.
So
Nice to meet
Khalid works at the CB9 office.
Okay.
Okay.
Hello.
Hi.
Good evening.
Good evening, Rev. How are you?
I am fine. How are you doing?
I'm well, trying to, keep it going.
I know. I know.
Yeah, are you okay?
I am okay.
Very
Thank
good.
God.
Nice to
I am
hear.
okay.
Yeah, so I'm hoping that by 7:15 we can get started, give people a little time to, join.
Okay.
Okay, just to let you know.
No
Hey, Deb,
problem. I was on the last time. I came
Okay.
on after, yes, I came on.
Yeah, Khalid
My
told
husband,
me
yeah,
that you
my
had
husband
some
had an
difficulty.
accident.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I was trying to get on and it wouldn't happen. It's
Yeah,
like,
that's
what
what he
is
said.
this?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So we,
couldn't get in at all.
right. So we just added you to the people that attended because he told me.
Yeah. So, what do you think about that package that we got from the? Or maybe we should wait until everybody comes in.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's wait and see.
Good evening, everybody. It's Tiffany Yard here.
Hi, Tiffany. How are you?
Hanging in. How are you? Always good to see your face, Debbie.
Yeah, I'll be on shortly. I just, said we'll give a grace of 7:15 because the last meeting, the meeting before that, we had problem with attendance. Yeah. So, hi, Maurice.
Hey, Deb, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
I can't complain. Ain't nobody
Oh,
listening.
very good. There's no
Yeah.
reason to complain. There's a lot of need out there.
Ain't nobody complain. I'm not complaining about nothing. I'm giving thanks for life, period.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm on 2 Zoom, so I may go dark, but I'm
Okay, yeah. So 7:15, we're gonna start this meeting because I was giving people a little time to get on board.
all right, cool. I'm here. Thanks.
Okay. All right, so everyone, according to my time, it's 7:15, so we're gonna get started now. And I would like to introduce, is everyone on board?
Yep,
Hello?
it's here. Yep.
Hi, Rev?
Yes, I'm on board.
Okay, so welcome. It's always good to see and hear voices and see faces during these uncertain times. And my name is Debbie Timothy. I know that we have a guest on here. Elizabeth, and I am the chair of the Economic
Hi,
Development
Elizabeth.
Committee at CB9.
Hello.
So thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Okay. So I'm going to call the meeting to order at 7:15. And during our meetings, for those that don't know, the Reverend Sylvetta Gonzalez is always providing us with a word of encouragement. So I'm going to allow her to do so now.
Thank you, Debbie. Good evening to all of our members. Eternal God, you are a great Savior and our Redeemer. we stretch our hands in heartfelt gratitude for the resurrection of your Son and the mercies that he has afforded upon those of us who hold our Easter a time of rejuvenation. Eternal God, at a time such as this, when the pandemic has claimed so many lives, so many people have left us, so many are homeless and hungry, and still so many being hospitalized. Dear God, we are just grateful that we can hold on to the commemoration of your Son's resurrection, that we might be comforted in these perilous times, these vicious times of hunger, of death, and of need. We are only human, eternal God. CB9 has members that are just ordinary people. Baby, just an ordinary leader, eternal God, calling us to the forefront so that we can use our empathy and our love to share and to see to it that whatever is wrong in our community will be made right, whatever is crooked can be made straight, and where there is darkness, we can shine forth light. But we are just ordinary people trying to do extraordinary things for the advancement of our humanity. So in our weakness this evening, oh God, I just ask that you would lift us up, strengthen our homes and our families. Those of us that are employed, our homes, our family, and our places of employment. Those of us that are struggling, eternal God, strengthen our courage and our faith to know that you will not leave us. You will not let us go, but you'll keep us steadfast until you give us the victory. And life will be no more sorrow, but an accomplishment of joy, because we dare to say we can make this world a better place. Guide us and guard us while we go through this meeting. And at its end, eternal God, grant us a victory for those in need. So it is, and so it shall be. Amen.
Thank you. Thank you, Rev, as always.
Amen. Amen.
Yes.
God bless.
So we normally do welcome and introductions after, the word of encouragement. So I'm going to allow our guest, Elizabeth, to introduce herself and tell us a little about, her joining us this evening. So go ahead, Elizabeth.
Thank you. I'll try to be brief. My name's Elizabeth. I've lived over on President Street for the past, I think, 10 years. Before that, I was up on St. John. And I teach at Wingate High School. And I've been kind of more interested in getting involved with community board stuff in terms of thinking about teaching seniors and having them be more participatory in government. And also for myself, in terms of myself and my neighbors on President Street have been dealing with a lot of the construction at the Bedford Armory.
Oh,
They actually are running the generator all night tonight. I got an email about it.
oh boy.
And so it's been kind of a hardship on us in terms of working from home while that's happening. And then also in terms of like the 4 buildings that are all connected are recently got letters for an MCI increase. So I'm trying to kind of advocate in terms of some of my neighbors and also for myself to try and improve our quality of life. So I just thought I'd stop by.
Okay, so I just have a quick question for you. Did you reach out to the community board?
Yeah, I've sent emails to the community board. I've been in contact with Eric, and I've been joining calls with
Eric?
Eric Woodland.
Brooklyn CB9?
No, not these. So I've been in communication with somebody from the Bedford Armory Project, and I've been
Right.
CCing to the community board email as well.
So you haven't been in direct contact with someone?
No, I haven't gotten like a response back from anyone at the community board per se.
Oh, Khalid, can you follow up on that, please?
Yes, I will. I'll share. I'll leave the
So
office
your name
email.
is Elizabeth. What's your last name?
Fortune,
I'm sorry.
Fortune, Fortune.
Okay, great. Thanks, Khalid.
Thank you.
All right, so Maurice, you can go ahead and introduce yourself. We can't hear you.
You know how much I talk to myself. Good evening, everyone. My name is Maurice Cummings, and although I don't look like it right now because I'm extremely comfortable in my house, I am.
Oh, boy.
To Councilman Alika Ampry Samuel. More importantly, though, I actually live in CB9, so I'm a concerned resident, and I'll try to make as many meetings as possible. So thanks for having me, Deb.
Thank you. Tiffany, I can't see you, but I can hear you. Or we can
Sorry,
hear.
I'm in transit, so.
Okay, no problem. So you can just.
No, it's good. It's good. Hi, everybody. I know I don't make every single meeting, especially the last 3 months. It's been a rough ride. I am back on the East Coast. I am bi-coastal. I am a 15-year resident of Crown Heights, Brooklyn Avenue. And so have had the pleasure of being a part of this committee for the last 3.5 years. Have been a part of many outreach programs to small businesses. I am a small business owner, not as small these days. We're officially in 2 states, California and New York. We're a beverage manufacturing company, also in the cannabis space for the last 2 years. So really interesting stuff going on, and excited to be back in the swing, and happy to be a resource in every way that I can. And Elizabeth, excited that you're part of this conversation, and in light of all that you're facing, definitely want to get some resources in your hand as well from a legal standpoint. There are some really great nonprofit pro bono lawyers that service the Crown Heights area specifically. So I'll make sure to find that while we're talking and put that in the chat.
Okay, great.
Thank you. I
Good to see
appreciate
everybody.
Rev, are you?
Yeah, I'm here. Yes. I'm sorry. As soon as I get to my house, I'll be able to turn on my camera. I'm on my phone.
Oh, okay.
I'm on my phone. So, I'm just Bishop Gonzalez, and I'm here in Crown Heights, working to make sure that our students are educated and ready for the next round of their life. They're our next generation.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And Khalid, I see a number 718-475-9800.
Yes, my name is Jonathan Berman. I'm a real estate agent.
Welcome, Jonathan. You're a real estate agent. Are you in the community? Are you?
Yes, I've actually been serving the community now for about 15 years. I sell commercial buildings.
And you said your name was Jonathan. What's the last name?
Berman, B-E-R-M-A-N.
Okay. Thank you. And I also see CC Olisa. Hi, CC.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, how are you?
Fine. I just moved to the neighborhood, so I'm a local citizen.
Okay, we all are.
I've been trying to hop on the different Zooms to kind of get a feel for, how I can get involved with the community and stuff. I attended the housing board meeting last week, which was very informative. So
Okay.
I'm just here to sit and listen and see how I can be supported.
Okay, so you're in Crown Heights, are you?
I'm in Prospect Lefferts Gardens.
Okay, same. Yeah, okay, well, welcome.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that I didn't get to? Okay, so we don't have any presenters tonight. However, we do have some new business information. I don't know how many people received the agenda. However, the New York City, I don't know how many people are familiar with the New York City Open Culture Program. I believe that the application process started the beginning of April. What that entails is open street events, and there are specific guidelines in terms of how, you know, you go about applying to have an event and the number of people that you can invite to the event. There are specific locations for these events throughout the boroughs. So it would be good if you know anyone that, you know, a musician or someone, an artist or someone that you can, you know, provide the information to. All of the information is on the nyc.gov website. So just to put that out there. Under the new business as well, we have, we've been having some issues with attendance, and I know everyone is pretty much zoomed out. I am, between work and home. I'm totally zoomed out because every minute there's a Zoom meeting. I mean, given the current circumstances, I guess we have to appreciate that. But yeah, it would be helpful if we can come together as, you know, on a monthly basis as scheduled to do the business of the community. I, you know, hate to be the only committee member making decisions because that's not what a committee is. So I just wanted to let people know.
Debbie, I just put the open culture link into the chat. So if anyone wants to take a look at
Oh, great.
type and the application info, it's there.
Yeah, thank you so much. Okay, so we had a presenter that was scheduled at last month's meeting, Mr. Deshaun Moss, and he's from the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce. And he presented on providing assistance to, well, he didn't get to present, so I had him present at the general board meeting for those who were, you know, at the meeting that that evening. So he provided us with a presentation on programs and assistance for local small businesses, which was very informative. You can go on their website and see all the information is there. And
Two
he's
questions
also,
on that, Debbie.
I'm sorry?
Two questions about Deshaun. The last time we heard, last time I heard from him, the fall of, I believe, probably 2019. My God.
Right, he was with the small Department of Small Business Services.
At that time, right, and he moved to
Right.
a different department now with the promotion. Great. I was curious about the information trucks now that we're all emerging from COVID and with the
Right,
world
right. So I'm getting there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
So there's a planned proposed small business walkthrough with Mr. Mars, and hopefully some of the electeds walk through the corridors of the community. It's in the planning phase, so, you know, I will be, or the community board will be passing the information on as all the details come together. So that's one of the things that we hope to be doing. I would say sometime in May. Those are the times that was proposed. I believe he mentioned, the district manager mentioned April, but I don't see it happening in April. So I'm looking forward to May, because I know they said that they had to reach out to the Assembly Woman's office to get some information. So I believe that as the information becomes available, you know, we will all have that information. and be able to
What?
join.
And what's the purpose of the walkthrough exactly? Who is it meant to reach, and what's the scope?
Well, it's for all, just to walk through and speak with the businesses that, are in the community and get a sense as to their needs. And hopefully provide, some assistance to them. I mean, I know that, as we all know, the last rounds of money that was given by the federal government, a lot of our small businesses were not able to get any resources. So hopefully we can focus on providing them with some of that assistance with all the money and resources that is coming to New York City, according to Senator Schumer, who was on our general board meeting in February. He spoke on all the resources that he was able to, get for New York on a whole. So hopefully, we can work with Mr. Mars and other agencies to, get some of the small businesses in our community some of the much needed resources. So it's pretty much to get a sense as to which businesses are still out there, because we know that a lot of them folded up. So, and get a sense as to their needs. Is that helpful, Tiffany?
Very much so, because especially knowing that we have Mr. Berman, Jonathan Berman, on the call with regard to a realtor who sells commercial space. It'd be really interesting to see how those conversations are started for folks who want to revive, again, for one example, Nostrand Avenue, with maybe some good business ideas. I can tell you right now that Chase and Carver, both in each corner of Empire Boulevard, turned down quite a few applications, business loan applications for some folks in my community specifically, because they just didn't have enough receipts to, I guess, to prove concept. But all that to say, it's really interesting to see how we're going to be able to help build bridges for those who have quality ideas, who want an opportunity to again bring some storefront activity with quality products or services. So and knowing that the banks are, again, as much money as they've gotten and as much money that's hanging around through this post-pandemic world, many of them still can't get business loans. So just hoping that there's some conversation around that too.
Well, I believe that we need to actually bring that to the attention of Mr. Mars, because I'm sure that they, should have some type of legal advice in terms of small businesses. I know that Impact Brooklyn, they presented to us a while back, and I tried reaching out to the woman that did the presentation, and I haven't been able to, get in contact with her. So I will attempt to do that again, because I know that they too have legal services that would be helpful to the local businesses and people that need, to get more information in terms of what you just spoke about. So next on the agenda, I was hoping that we can have an open dialogue on, the goals of the committee. I know that we were working on some projects which fell through because of COVID, but hopefully we can get back on track and try to revamp. And as you said, Tiffany, as Tiffany just said, seeing where things are opening up, we can start dialoguing on those, projects again.
Yeah, there's two things. Elizabeth raised a great question in the chat. She says, has there been any systemic accounting or good record keeping for closed or in businesses that are in danger of closing that we could potentially support in the short term? I think that's a fantastic question, and it lends itself to what is the plan this year, especially around just revitalization. I don't know if we do enough work with Zelnor Myrie's office or Diana Richardson specifically. I've had opportunities to head up to Albany and talk to quite a few lawmakers over several things, but I realized locally, CB9, we don't have a lot of collaborative work together. And I see a lot of parallels of what they promote individually, specifically Diana Richardson's office.
Right, right.
compared to, and I feel like there's just needs to be more synergy, more collaborative work done, because
I
again,
agree.
I feel like we're running in two different, running on the same track.
Yeah,
in two
it's
different lanes.
everybody's doing their own thing. And that, yeah, we need that partnership. And I
And I'm happy
totally
to
agree.
assist with that. I'm happy to support that. I just would need a little guidance from you and as well as the community board administrators.
Okay, so we can collaborate on that and try to reach out and find out, how we can, work together in terms of this community and the businesses in this community. That would be helpful, as opposed to everyone doing what they, deem important, and, we should build a partnership and try to work together. And I think that there is someone from their offices that's supposed to be attending these meetings. However, I don't know, who those individuals are. So
That's good to know. Okay.
yeah, so I will find out from the district manager, now that we do have a district manager, how, they can reach out to the community board in terms of, working together on all of these issues and events that's, happening now. And I guess we can take it from there. Elizabeth said that she has been in contact with Farah Sufrant, Forest office. Yeah, because I don't know how many of you are familiar with the associated supermarket closing issue.
Yes, that, and also what's going on with the Botanic Garden.
Oh yeah, 960.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I usually what I do is I visit associated besides going there to shop, to speak with the managers. So I spoke with usually I'll try to do that on a weekly basis, just to get a sense as to where the issue is. And I spoke with Pablo 2 days ago, just inquiring as to what the next steps are. And he said that everything is pretty much the same. They're waiting for the other side to reach out to them. And, it's like everything is at a standstill. So they don't know, what tomorrow may bring, but hopefully they will be able to get a response soon, because, this is a business. They have to provide goods to the community. They have to purchase these goods. So it would be good for them to know what's taking place and where they stand, given all of the seniors that we have in this community, and, that this is where they shop, and, it's a difficult situation. So hopefully everything will turn out in the best interest for everyone that's in the community, because I don't know what would happen otherwise. I mean, having a senior go to Western Beef, or, where's the other supermarket? Way down on Nostrand and over Eastern Parkway, or towards Church Avenue. I mean, I don't see that happening. So hopefully, we can hear something with an illuminating outcome in the not too distant future on the associated supermarket. So if anyone else has any, because I know there's a lot of information out there, and I don't want to, and I believe since it's a legal matter, usually when it's a legal issue, you have to know when to step in and when to stay back, because normally government agencies do not intervene in legal matters, and I believe that that's where it is right now. So it would be helpful if everybody was on board. I don't know what the assembly member office has done. I don't know. I know that there's a lot of, grassroots organization that's been, protesting. I mean, I attended one of the protests over there, the first one, I believe. So, there's a lot of information out there, but, I guess we have to be very cautious in terms of, making, decisions without knowing what everybody else is doing. So that's where I am, and that's my thoughts on that. So does anyone else have any questions? If not, we're gonna move to old business. I don't know if Jonathan has any information that he wants to provide us with.
Regarding the supermarket?
I know that, just in general. If you have some information about the supermarket, that would be helpful as well.
Well, I can tell you that as a commercial real estate agent, we've been trying to speak with the supermarket for many years in order to represent them in the sale of the supermarket. You see, we don't take sides. We just do business. The supermarket has been a good candidate for a development site, and if you develop their condominiums, then it's really very hard to have a supermarket downstairs, because the average condominium buyer will not want a condominium, a supermarket below. On the other hand, if you build a rental building, then there's absolutely no problem, because actually it's beneficial to the developer, because, as you know, there's a bonus for having the supermarket downstairs, a bonus in terms of air rights.
Right.
I actually sold one of the buildings across the street, and so I can tell you, and I know the area well, and I know the neighbor to the supermarket too, Mr. Cohen. My feeling is it's going to be condominiums. I think the community board would have done itself a big favor by looking at the zoning of the larger lots in the area and the important assets to the community, and try to change the zoning to what would be favorable to the community board. But the residential zoning
Favorable to the community board or to the community residents? Because the community is 40% or 40,000 or whatever. So, if they come in and develop something, who's going to benefit from that? There's a lot to take into consideration here.
Oh, it's even worse than that, because one of the things you probably know, but is that in low-income neighborhoods, the price of food is significantly higher than in high-income neighborhoods. And the reason
I agree,
is,
yeah.
So by losing the supermarket, it's actually very detrimental to the community, because your food prices are going to go up.
And exactly, and we don't want to hold foods that we can't afford. We can't afford Associated right now, but we are dealing with it. So a Whole Foods or something else, who would benefit from that? Who would benefit from the development? Who would benefit from
only the developer?
Supermarket?
But you have to also remember that it's private land. That means the person who owns it has the right to benefit from it to the maximum extent by the law. Now, if he asks for additional zoning, obviously then you could negotiate with him to your favor. But as of right, he's allowed to do as of right.
It's a great point you raised, Jonathan. I'd love to learn more about petitioning for zoning changes and who has, I guess, a usual timeline to execute something like that.
I'm not an expert and I wouldn't want to give you legal advice, but I can tell you the best way to get things done is through the community board, through the elected officials, and doing it in advance. The community board would benefit the community would benefit significantly if it would decide what it would like to see in the community in the future and come to the elected officials and say, you know, we have this area here, which, and I think it's, you know, I think everybody's heard Ms. Boyd say this in many ways, and I enjoy listening to her because she's usually 100% right. There's, you know, they have the area near the Botanic Garden, and
960.
960. If the community decides what it wants there, it needs to petition the elected officials to make sure that they get what they want. Because at the end of the day, if you don't vote for the elected officials, they represent the community and they want to be elected. So, you know, you hold the key to them, to their vote.
Indeed,
and
I think that's a good. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to talk.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Please, this is a great dialogue. I just think of an example right now of the fight that's been going on for the last 4 years with the Brooklyn Botanical Gardens and them trying to control the airspace, especially for and the environmental impacts, and using that as an angle for rezoning. Again, just realizing that's been such a long, drawn process, and knowing they have so many dollars tied to the efforts to get that done. When thinking about CB9 and as small as this group is, and what that looks like, and again, us having a serious fundamental issue that needs to change, which is what I just raised, and us running in through 80 different, you know, same track, 80 lanes, as opposed to really coming together and wanting to help build bridges to get those conversations started. Because you're absolutely right, Jonathan. Like, if we're not petitioning and fighting for this, but again, to get that started, and is it really going to take 4 years to do a rezoning of our neighborhood to protect it? That's a process. So that's where that question comes from. And now that I've asked the question, I'm going to be doing a lot of homework to see what we can do to change that this year. You might want to add that to our list of things, Debbie.
Yeah, I think that all of those concerns should be raised with the ULURP committee, because they are the ones that's really dealing with those, you know, current 960 and the zoning and the, you know, the height and all of those things that applies to that project. So
which committee was that? I didn't hear.
I'm sorry?
Which committee did you say was in charge?
The land use, our ULURP committee with CB9.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I know that there's a lot going on with that 960 project currently, so that would be something that, you know, we can or, you know, attend their meetings, because they do have monthly meetings as well, and you know, have that discussion at their meeting. But there's a lot going on,
and even the smaller projects on one block over on President, they've been tearing down these residential brownstones and putting up these like 4-story condos and things. One has a stop work order.
This is on you say what street?
President, those condos and stuff are happening between Bedford and Franklin, but there's just so much building happening in our district.
There's a lot, and it's not here, or it's in Manhattan, it's downtown, it's all over. But so you said there's a stop work order?
Yeah, I was walking by. They've done 3 so far. So they've torn down like these 2-story homes and put up 4 condos. And then they have one that is in the process. And I saw that has some stop work order, I think just for electrical concerns.
I'm going to make a note of that and bring it up at the The executive committee meeting. This is on. And these are brownstones that they are tearing down?
Yeah, I mean, it's like family homes, these one single family that obviously they've sold them to developers and they've
Oh my
kind of
God.
been putting them up. It's interesting to see how quickly it's changed in that. It's only been a couple years.
Yeah. Wow. And I haven't walked in that area in a while, so I can't imagine walking over there, and be like, what is going on? And I didn't hear anything about it, so it would be quite interesting to find out more about it.
Yeah, and then also there's like I'm sure with COVID and everything, everybody being impacted. There's also like stalled projects. So on the old gas station on Franklin and our Eastern Parkway in Bedford is just an empty lot that's been kind of sitting there.
Right, I think, yeah, on the corner, yeah. There was, okay, so,
What are they gonna put there?
no, she said it's just a vacant lot. Is it cleaned up? Is it?
Well, they started construction. I believe last I heard they were talking about a hotel.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's
I heard
called-
that too. It's a hotel,
wow.
but it's been sitting there for a while. It's amazing.
I think that we need to get like a list of all the projects in the community and get a sense as to what. And I don't know, I'm sure that somebody at Borough Hall would have that type of information in terms of how, you know, all of these projects are happening and, you know, but even as a community board, we should have a listing of, you know, all the developments that's going on in the community. Even if we reach out to the Department of Buildings, they should have a listing of all these, you know, ongoing projects and get a census to, you know, what's where and what's going on. I mean, it's interesting that all these projects are going on and, you know, as a member of the community board, I'm not aware of, you know, I keep hearing about 960 and I know about 960, but, and the Armory as well. So, I mean, the other projects that's going on, it's, you know, it's amazing.
Yeah, indeed.
So I will again reach out. Oh, Khalid?
I'm here, Debbie.
Oh, I was just gonna ask you to, if you can, ask the, district manager to, if he can get a listing of all the projects, developments that's going on in CB9.
Projects and developments ongoing in CB9.
Right. And
you can-
the status.
You can normally go into community profiles from Department of City Planning to see ongoing projects. So let me pull up a link really quick.
Okay, and yeah, but the board, the office should have a listing of these projects and, you know, what the status is. So I mean, if someone, you know, reaches out to the board, they know that, you know, this project is happening and whether it's stalled, whether it's ongoing, what, you know, what is the, you know, is there a violation? You know, it would be interesting to have all that information in one place.
Well, that's mostly, so say for example, if you're talking about a building that has any ongoing work, that's with DOB. They maintain
No, I understand that. So
those
yeah.
details and such like that. It, you know, because our office isn't necessarily the hub for maintaining that. Yes, we can go and inquire and make those.
No, I'm not,
Please
no,
touch.
that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that we should at least have a listing of all of these developments, you know, so that we know that this is happening, you know? It's like we're having a discussion now and only because Elizabeth brought the information up. Because before now, I wasn't aware that all of this is going on. I don't know if the ULUP committee, you know, has such information. It would be good to know. But I mean, if you're in a
Right.
community, you should know what's going on. I see buildings going up all over and it's like,
Well, the thing, like, so the thing is that if a building is building as of right, then there really isn't any incentive for a respective agency to inform us. If it's something where, of course, you know, this will violate the ongoing, the current in place zoning, or and this is also the point of community residents to sound the alert that, you know, there's a building that's going up and they may be in violation of a work permit, or, you know, any asbestos concerns, they reach out to us and then we reach out to the appropriate agencies. But to be honest, you know, the office does not receive everything. Like LPC does not inform us of every alteration that goes on in the district. We have to make the inquiry, you know, so we have.
No, and what about, well,
this
this is why I'm asking, and what about notices in terms of anything that's being developed in the community? That's something that.
Not every, yeah, it's not every time, to be honest. Because like I said, if a private owner or developer is conducting work and they're in compliance with the respective agency, there wouldn't be any need for the community board to be involved. Only if constituents who live in the area see something and then they say something and then we make the inquiry. And depending on, you know, so say for example with Department of Transportation or Department of City Planning, if there are, they would inform us, you know, well, these are the upcoming projects, and, you know, to be aware of. So the Empire Franklin Avenue reconstruction, you know, we're informed of that on a regular basis. We're informed of, you know, any cars that are towed in the area, so forth like that. But you know, there's a lot of work that happens in the district. I can also post a link for Permits NYC. Any given week, there are permits for work, you know, in the district, and we're not made aware of that immediately. We have to go and do the research, especially if somebody makes a complaint about, you know, there's this construction going on. There's no list, there's no permit posted, or they're leaving debris in the streets. And then we make the inquiry and reach out and follow up from there. But okay, I know, right, go ahead, Debbie, sorry.
So there is a place that all of that information can be made available to the community board, and that is at the Borough Service Cabinet meeting.
Okay, so then then I'll reach out. That's for Dante or to attend and gather that information, right? I myself.
Yeah, so because all of the agencies are there. So we have resources that we can reach out to. If we are not getting something, they need to be, you know, notified.
Right.
For Service Cabinet or the Borough Board. What we, you know, these are the places. Well, now that we have a district manager in place, I guess he will be attending those meetings because they happen on a monthly basis and make contact with all of the elected. And that's how we get resource, you know, the information that we need so that we know who to reach out to. We know what's, you know, the OB and all these people there, they should be, you know, represented at those meetings.
Correct, right.
So, yeah, so that's something that, you know, for Dante.
Yes, Dante. Mm-hmm.
Yes, so that's something, yeah, that we need to, I know that he just started, but just, you know, things that I guess we need to put in place so that, you know, we are
right
on top of all of the
yes, and I will make him aware of that as well.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. And are you able to, all of the information in the chat, are you able to pull up that information so that I can get a copy?
So with the community profiles for Planning NYC, that is, and of course it has listed the 960 Franklin Avenue rezoning. And if you click into it, you'll be able to review the applications that are currently available with NYC Planning. It'll inform you of what the project is, or at least, you know, where the project is at this point, at this juncture, and other like documents such as the special permit, legal document, zoning map, et cetera, so forth like that.
Right, yeah, that's what city planning, right?
Right, and then with the other one I have,
yeah.
Right, and then with the other link I just posted, it's nycstreets.net. It's the permit management system. So it's an interactive map, and you can go across, you know, dates for intended projects in the area. And you'll be able, once you say, for example, if you see a project on a street segment or an intersection, you can click into it. and see the permits that have been submitted to DOT and certified, and including the contact information for the relevant parties conducting the the work in order and
Okay.
so forth.
All right, so I think we kind of straying off topic because I think that all of those particular issues are for the Euler committee. So I
Right.
guess.
So
Committee.
right. Well, but I mean, and to answer your question, really is that we're not made aware of everything that goes on in the district. It's just that we have to once we're made the inquiry from a constituent, we have to go and follow up with these respective agency interaction
Right.
tools
Yeah.
to
No,
get
I
the
got.
information and follow up. That's what I mean. Yeah.
No, I got you. And what I was asking you, the information in the chart, are you able to send me a copy of that information, whatever is in the chat?
Right. I can send you these links via email if you'd like.
And all the information in there that people have. Are you?
Yes. The chat is saved, and I can save you a copy and send it to you. Yes.
Okay, great. That's all I need. And thank you for your input. We strayed off, but at least people get a sense as to where they can go if they want to hear more about a certain development or something like that.
Yeah, I appreciate the links. I feel like I want to find them on my own.
Say that again.
Saying thank you for all the links. I feel like I would have found them on my own.
I know it's very difficult unless you really, with NYC.gov, if you don't know where to go, it's very complicated. So I'm glad that we were able to provide you with some information, some helpful information. Thank you, Khalid. So let's move on to our old business. So we are back on track. We, as a committee, we were in the process of designing a shop local bag for the community board, and we got to a certain point, and with all the COVID stuff, and I guess people doing different things, kind of fell off track on that. So I was hoping that we can talk about that a little, unless someone else has. I don't know how many people are familiar with Bagu. It's a company that does all types of bags and designs and colors and whatnot. I was going to make contact with them to find out the cost and all of the details that go along with a shopping bag. At some later date, we can have an event, whether it's Grow NYC food event or something that, as a committee, we can come up with to distribute and promote those bags, or, whatever community events, is going on, we can use them there. We were also going to do a sign for the businesses, their windows. Greg Clark was supposed to be designing that, so I need to also follow up with him on that. We do have some resources, and hopefully we can, use some of the resources for in fiscal year 21 rather, to purchase or before June 1st. As we know, our fiscal year goes from July and ends in June of the following year. So that is quickly approaching. So, if we can come up with some type of, idea, or, I know that there's a lot that's going on. We are talking about a lot. But at the same time, we can try to complete that process.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, Debbie. Again, number one on the list, I'm really gonna turn my attention to figuring out how we or how to best support you as we try to figure out how to get Zelnor and Diana's offices more aligned with what we're doing.
Right.
Especially on the zoning portion, but to your point about this, this could be a great way to incorporate people into the revitalization of commerce, especially as the world opens up from COVID. And I think this is a good time to do it. So like to prepare now for a July push. The bags are from a logistical standpoint, great point, you know, it's something tangible.
Yes.
But we need to partner with like the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce from an amplification standpoint. We need to push on how to figure out how to connect with Zelnor and Diana's offices as soon as possible, because they do a ton of outreach. I mean, they give away food, they give away toys, they purchase things from local vendors, and then give it back to the community on a regular basis. And so with all of those things that are just happening in and around, again, that's being one example of the work that they do locally.
Yes.
And the food pantry, that's every week right there in Empire in front of Diana's office. So things that can help support and create just dialogue around, hey, where is this store? Where is that? You know, again, all those things can be tied back to the Brooklyn Chamber, because Elizabeth raised a great question of who's in danger of closing now, who is already closed, because the list that we had once upon a time is moot, you know, 2019.
Right. So, yeah. So that has been on my agenda in the past, and hopefully we can come up with a list that's more updated in terms of, and this will happen with the walkthrough, because I'm hoping that we can, you know, get a sense as to what's out there and where once this, you know, walkthrough happens.
Yeah, I think, you know, again, if we say, hey, you know, 2 weeks after 4th of July, we're going to do some type of push, you know, because folks are going to want to travel if they're doing anything to get the heck out of, you know, their regular routines, especially again as the world opens up. Two things. Say you pick July 20th or something for this event, so to speak. Backtracking it to now April, what would that look like for having a list of actually participating companies, having all the things we used to do more streamlined into a one-day event that can be information for business owners and shopping opportunities for consumers. Keep it simple, and it has to be amplified by at least 2 or 3 other partners, because it can't be done from us. It's just too hard, and there's too much information in scattered places to be effective. So I would say Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce, I'm happy to make a few calls there to support, again, subject to your leadership, of course. Second, obviously, figuring out with all of these different links that we have here, to again, get that streamline going. But again, those two are two assembly folks. They've got a handle on what they're doing, how they're doing it. We need to plug in and combine forces.
Okay, so definitely. Now, as I said, we do have a district manager in place, so, you know, we can have him, you know, reach out to their offices and, you know, express our interest in, you know, partnering with them on doing some things in the community.
Debbie, and I was just thinking, you know, as the gentleman said, the one who spoke about when we remove when the associated is gone, that the prices of food will be increased in the neighborhood.
Absolutely.
And what increases along with that is price gouging.
And it's happening right now. So can you imagine?
Right now. So if we can include that into Mary and Richardson's agenda, you know, to make sure that these people that have to now just go to the corner store are not going to have to spend $30 for a gallon of milk, because the price is going up because Associated may no longer be there.
Right. That's like, you know, you're in the depth of the pandemic trying to get a can of Lysol, and you walking on the street and you see them displayed, and they're asking you for $40 and $50 and $60 for a can.
Good. Yes.
And I'm like, you know, I think that I will stick with my bottle of Clorox and some wipes and, you know, keep it moving. I'm not going to pay that for a can of Lysol. No. So
it was unheard of.
I was stopped on President Street and Nostrum.
A lot of people.
In the pandemic, a gentleman was standing outside the Korean store, and it's between Union and Eastern Parkway. And as I'm walking, I guess they're still there. And as I'm walking along, and he said, "Miss, can you believe they're charging 15 cents for a plastic bag inside of there?" I said, "Well, you need to report them and don't buy it."
Wow.
So things like that are happening. And if people are making money with the bags, You go into certain places and they have a little stronger bag and it's like 50 cents. So it's a situation of whether you buy it or or you just leave it there. And it's like, okay, you don't want plastic in the dump areas. However, the garbage that goes out on a weekly basis goes into a plastic bag. So where is that going?
Maybe
So,
you're too smart.
oh my God, I'm like, I think I have too much time to think now. And it's like, what are they really doing? It's like they're
Yeah.
making the poor poorer and the rich richer because I don't get it. And I'm like, wow. So it's a lot, but that I always say that too shall pass. We just take a deep breath before we move on.
Yes.
So I'll follow up on the bag and the sign. Greg he hasn't been at the meeting. So if Khalid, can you follow up with Greg Clark to see if he's okay and get a sense as to where he is with the sign?
Yes, will do.
Small businesses, I appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, we were also working on a list compilation for small businesses in the community to post on our social media sites, the community board. I came up with some information. I believe, Tiffany, I sent you some information to add to your list because I didn't want to duplicate. I don't know if you were able to come up with anything. And I also
The last time I saw that list, Deb, was I think maybe September 2019. And so I will say that we should probably do a refresh. And I think we're probably more equipped to, present an opportunity for Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce to give us something that's more concise with active companies. Might be a good
Okay.
place to start for our area. I'm happy to do that as well.
Okay.
And I'm putting in the chat, I'm kind of putting my own notes out. Please correct them. Just what are our North Stars for the next 12 months? And I just placed 2 there. So hoping we can keep that list rocking again, and of course, subject to how you normally keep notes on this. I just want to keep a mental note of what exactly we want to execute on. So I can,
Okay.
again, be best supportive to you and the committee.
Okay, great.
But those 2 North Stars in the zoning, the small business commerce revitalization with the shop local bag and all of that. And then you mentioned here now really getting a good, some type of, excuse me, I'm escaping words. Some of the words are losing me now.
Okay.
A repository of just names of businesses in the area. The question
Right.
is, what do we do with that list? What's the point of that list?
Well, I think the point of that list is so that we can have that list available at the community board because I don't think
Directory, that's
they
the word I'm
have-
looking for. Directory.
Yeah, they don't have an updated listing. And given COVID, I don't know what the last list that I sent looks like. So that would be something that needs to be updated and kept in a place where.
Got it. You wanted to live on the site, on the CB9 site. You want to live on our socials. Okay.
Right. So yeah. So we can have that so that everyone has access to it. And in terms of the reusable bag, I will follow up on, with again, Greg was supposed to design, the front of the bag to say something about CB9 shop local reusable bag. So we have to follow up with him to find out where he is with that. And but in the meantime, what I will do is reach out to Baglo and see what their price ranges are when you're buying in bulk.
I mean, honestly, this might be a good time to even pause on the design, because what that bag really is an amplification of a program or some initiative, right? Some type of swag, right? So
yes,
if we're looking at our North Stars now to figure out what it is we're focusing on, that bag could send a more powerful message if we really know what we want people to galvanize around, right? So do we want to kind of take a step back and kind of realize, okay, what do we really want to do with our local community out of these North Stars that we're developing? And on that bag, you can put that message there as part of something they want to hold on to as a visual reminder of what we're working on. So it might be worth taking a pause on the bag design just to get these things locked in and then make something fresh for the July program. If
Okay,
that's
so
the date you even want to go with.
okay, so that, we can do that as well. Okay, so I will ask ask Khalid or someone to follow up with Greg and find out whether he's available to work with us on continue to work with us on the project, and we can talk more about that at the next meeting. I was hoping to be able to use some of those resources that's available, because I think there is a deadline in terms of providing the community board with the needs. They were asking every committee to do so. So I was hoping that we can do that.
What's the date for that needs list?
Khalid?
Yes, Debbie.
Hi, committee members or committee chairs received a notice from, I believe it was Dante, regarding a deadline for requesting resources for upcoming events.
Yes.
What was the deadline on that?
The committee chairs, I believe that is for April, the end of April. Give me 1 second.
I think it was the 31st, no?
It might be. I know it's the end of April, and I want to say maybe even after the general board meeting. Give me 1 second to look at that date.
Yeah, so I want to believe, I think it was the 31st. Are you able to come up with anything?
Not yet. I have to go back into the emails. Give me 1 second to take a look for it. Inquiry. No later than April 23rd. So my apologies. That's before our general board meeting this month.
Okay, so that's quickly approaching. The 24th,
Yes.
23rd.
23rd by 12 p.m. noon. So he sent this email to the committee chairs, committee budget inquiry, April 6th at 11:01 a.m.
Okay,
Now, these are all financial needs for specific projects that have to be predefined, or is this just kind of a budget line item estimates for kind of anything that the committee may want to do later?
okay.
I'll read this through for you all so you can have an understanding. So we continue to assess the CB9 district office budget. This letter is requesting that all committees seeking funding for any committee business to submit a proposal with all funding requests to the
Right.
district office no later than April 23rd, 2021 by 12 p.m. Proposals must include all projects, events, programming, and materials for which you are seeking funding through the end of fiscal year 21. So that ends June 30th, 2021.
Right,
It must
yeah.
be the funding requests for each separate project for which you are seeking. If your committee is planning to purchase services or materials from a vendor, the vendor in question must be registered with the city. And
That's correct. Yeah, that's correct. So yeah, so every fiscal year, like as I said, if the community board has resources that, in excess, that's not used up, it goes back to the city. So this is what he's talking about. I mean, if a committee has an upcoming event and, needs to pay a vendor for that project, there needs to be a proposal in terms of what the event is, what the cost is, and I guess all the details of the vendor and their, contract number and all of those things. So that's what, this information entails. So I
Got it.
assume that if we don't get, and I believe that there's, I'm not sure how many committees have events coming up, but I'm sure that I know that the youth committee had a couple of events that were coming up. However, they had some issues in terms of, having people come and present that did not have contracts with the city, because it makes it more difficult to pay those individuals with city resources.
Got it. So
so-
question for you on that. So sorry, because I'm a little confused on the timing. So 4/23, 2021 at 12 noon, proposals have to be in. For what time period? Are these for events that will be happening through June or through the remainder of December 2021?
So, I mean, we can go beyond, we can go into fiscal year 2021, 22, which is the next fiscal year. But if we have things in place for this fiscal year, which is 21, then we can use some of those resources to do so. Like purchase the bags, but again, as you said, we need to figure out exactly what's gonna, what we're going to put on those bags, the information, whether it's designated to a specific project or, something that we, something else that we, are working on. But yeah, the resources works from one fiscal year to the next. So if, as I said, if the resources that we have, that the excess resources that the community board has, if it's not used up in that fiscal year, it goes back to the city. So we now have to wait until the next fiscal year to get our new budget. So.
And so the fiscal year is June to June. Okay. And we are all right currently in April right now, which is kind of
Exactly.
problematic. And we've got 10 days to come up with a proposal for an entire day-long multi-department program. Nice. Okay.
So no, so we, again, we are not going to be able to do that. We're not going to be able to make that. However,
We could try. Let's pull a Hail Mary. Why not?
Yeah, well, we can at least come up with the signs so that when we do the walkthrough, we can provide the businesses with the signs for their windows. I think that would be something that is doable, providing that Greg can come up with one of the designs that, he sent us to do so. Because I believe that it requires getting laminated and all of those things.
I will say, no shade to Greg. Sorry he's not on the call right now, but I love what Elizabeth just put in the chat. Elizabeth, feel free to chime in. CC, anybody, feel free to always jump into the calls. I love what she just placed in the chat. She was like, why don't we incorporate some student artwork? Because this would incorporate then, from an economic, development standpoint, we're getting our consumers' children involved in the process, which adds some really great opportunities for storytelling and to get folks bought into the ideas that we're putting out there to the community. I love it. I see a win-win there. And we pretty much have Elizabeth's classroom to do it. We can choose her entire class. And
sounds like a plan.
I am concerned about the deadline, but I think that is a kind of a generally good idea. They're also I know there's so many schools in the area. It only takes one really great design or opportunity.
Yeah, honestly, I would keep it simple and just say, hey, let's send a call for artwork to Wingate. That's where your school is, right, Elizabeth? Keep it simple for this one, and then maybe expand it, if we do well.
But I think that the design would have to include that CB9
Community
Yeah.
Board 9 and shopping local as kind of like the primary focus.
Yeah, that'd be the primary focus. But again, there's aspects of this being twofold. I think for the July program, it'd be one on getting people out of COVID and spending with the companies that support or need their help in their neighborhood. And then obviously, how do you give back? Well, some type of discount program, or again, the bag is one aspect. There's something we can think it through, but if we got 10 days to come up with a proposal just for this one thing to say we spent the money, then let's go ahead and do that. And Debbie, I'll ping you out after this just to see how I can at least put the framework together and then flip it to everybody on email thread and call, and we'll just fill in the blanks as fast.
Okay, so
One thing that, hi, this is Cece again. One thing that I think would be interesting would be to see how we could do like a lead up towards July. I've had this concept, being someone that just moved to Brooklyn, of like, it would be so cool to have a map, like a fun map of like 10 businesses that like I was intentional to support. Maybe it's like, if you shop at one of these businesses, the bags will be there waiting for you, like kind of like a treasure hunt.
Ooh, I like that.
yeah, well, I think Impact Brooklyn had something similar, a program similar to that, that they did with their Shop Local program that we will partnership with them on. 2 years ago. Yeah, where they pretty much did something similar to that. So that's something that can be done as well.
Yeah, I do remember.
I don't want to derail the conversation at all, but I did hear a lot of what Mr. Jonathan said about the zoning and things like that. And my understanding from the previous community board meetings that I went to is that it's really in the elected officials' hands, and that there's an election happening in June. So I know we have a North Star for July, but the decision makers who are about to decide if we have sunlight in 4, 8, 16 years are about to get voted in. So I didn't know if there's some way to rally around making sure the right people are, I don't know if we have, I don't know. I just wanted to bring that up. Like, there's an election in June. It's a pretty big deal. It affects all of the things that we're talking about. So I don't know if there's a way to loop all those things together. If this is not the place for that, please excuse me. It's my first meeting.
So you're pretty much talking about the upcoming elections. Is that not what you're saying?
Yes, ma'am. I'm just wondering if
okay, I don't, this is not the platform for that. I mean, I guess we can, I know that there's a lot of events and Zoom meetings coming up to meet some of these people that's running for,
I'm sorry, Miss Debbie, I think maybe you misunderstood what I was saying. What I'm saying is, when this is the second community board meeting I've been on where the answer seems to be that the elected officials are the reasons why grocery stores are getting canceled, price gouging is happening. And so as community boards, how do we make our voices heard to the people that are about to get voted in June? I know we're planning something for July regarding the Shop Local event, but do we mobilize as these different boards? Like, this stuff is happening to us, but it's actual people who are making these decisions. So I'm not asking for like a political rally or anything like that, but like, how do we make sure the elected officials know that we don't appreciate Lysol being $40 and we don't appreciate not having sunlight? Is there a way that?
Okay, well, what I was about to say was that there are platforms to voice that message. I think some of the what's her name? Rodney's Bichot. She has been having a lot of these people that's running for offices on a platform or a Zoom meetings, and people can join in and, ask questions. The community, we had a few people that's running as well at our general meetings. I had one person at one of our economic development committee meeting. So there are platforms to, ask questions and, find out where, people are going and what their thoughts are in terms of, our community, to voice that type of information. In terms of the community board, most of the times I've seen where they would, come to the general board meeting and introduce themselves, and pretty much that's it, in terms of, if you have further questions in terms of what they have to offer, or, I think that that's for a different platform. And like I say, there's a lot of meetings that has been going on. I think there's one going on. I think there was one over the weekend by Ms. Rodney's office. That she's been hosting a lot of these electeds or people that's running for some of these opportunities in the community. So I think there are platforms where, one can voice their,
Sorry, go ahead.
raise their questions and, have that discussion. But in terms of the community board, I've never seen that happen where we have a panel of
Yeah, I think to further I think to what Cece's getting at, and I agree with you. It's like, how do you position the community for success, especially during election year, to make sure that the right people are in the right seats to push the agenda forward. And at this stage, it being April, a lot has gone on in last year of what players are where. And so we're a bit late to the game if we as a community were to decide to promote any more learning opportunities, or opportunities where people can speak to these individuals and maybe even be endorsed by a committee. Though we have never, and as Debbie had mentioned, we do not endorse candidates,
right,
as a general matter. I think I'm sure Khalid can speak more to that on the rules and regulations around what community boards can and can't do. All that to say, whoever is in that seat should know what we want. And I think we're in a better position now as we craft our North Stars into this next fiscal year to make sure that whoever is in that seat, we have enough tools and enough pressure from our local communities to keep them aligned with what we want them to do. And that requires some intentionality, planning, and some strategic communications, which I think we can work toward now that we have an idea of what we really want. So regardless of who's in that seat at this point, we can certainly do our part to do our homework and to amplify, but as a community board, we can't endorse a cycle is. To have a panel or to do some type of presentations at this stage, it's better focus on our energies to have a game plan of what we want them to do and hold them to the fire of that. If that helps, Cece. Again, happy to talk more of that, but I couldn't agree more that we need to really hold our officials accountable and to know who's the one holding which keys to which door. Because I will tell you that, not all positions are created equal, and that's just politics as usual. And so some folks will have a bigger chair at the table than others. And to know who those true key holders are is part of our work and part of what we need to do to make sure that whatever plan we do have in place is being executed. So that's going to be coming long after the election day. But again, to your point about holding our elected officials accountable, that's going to be part of the work. And I think we're other groups to make it happen.
I also think it requires educating our community in terms of who these individuals are. Because what I've noticed is working at the poll site on election day, a lot of the people that come in, they don't know these individuals. So, you find yourself having to leave your post to go and assist them to, acclimate them in terms of who these individuals are. And, It's mind.
What? That's happening at the election poll? Okay, I think this is a recorded line. Let's not even repeat that. Wait, that happens? I don't think.
I'm telling you, I am telling you.
Uh-oh, that sounds problematic. but okay.
It's you know, it's mind boggling. You know, they don't know like
I
this.
see.
And it's not until that they're in a predicament where they need assistance, they know, you know, they'll go to the office. So because they're, you know, directed to do so, that they know that this is an elected official. So it's
and that's Cece's point. That's exactly Cece's point. She wants people to know exactly. Again, we all do. We all want to know who our candidates are, and you know, there's a lot of money that goes into many of these races where I'm a very active civil citizen, and so civic-minded citizen, and so I get all the things. But there are people who, like you said, you know, don't get that marketing budget. So as all of those door tags and mailers and all the things, that all comes again with folks who know who is going to come out and vote. So there's, again, all the political aspects I can bore anyone to tears about. But I think, again, Cece's point is very valid, that the community doesn't know enough of the players, that education is lacking. And to Debbie's point, you know, that process and it now being April and knowing that we have our heads around what the New Year's gonna look like, we've got to dig into where we can make the most impact. And that's going to be setting up the plans to hold whoever's in those seats accountable. So that's kind of where I stand on it. But again, Debbie, I default to whatever your guidance is on what the path forward for the committee over the next few months could look like, and how we execute that. But again, I think this is just a great conversation overall.
I think it's a conversation for the entire board, not specifically this committee, because, you know, it's everyone, you know, should be, you know, should have a voice or something, an opinion about this, you know, particular conversation. So that's something else that we.
Thanks. You both answered my question enough for today. Both said was helpful. So thank you.
So yeah, so hopefully we can collaborate on that more, but as a board, in terms of, you know, so are you planning to join the board at any point, Cece, or you just?
I'm very passionate. Something I heard in another board meeting is that because of term limits, elected officials do what they promise in their first term, and in their second term, that's when they seem to do things that work against the community. So I'm passionate about applying pressure for accountability. I plan on raising my kids here one day, and I'd like them to have sunlight. So I'm kind of thinking 10 years ahead. If we've missed the mark for 2021, I can take that L, and then the next time around, I'll figure out where I belong. If this isn't the place to apply pressure to elected officials, it might not be the board for me, but I think there's a holistic effort that could happen if we all mobilize. I don't know why, the way it was explained to me in the previous meeting is like, these things like this don't happen in Park Slope. So I don't know what Park Slope has that we don't. I think that is.
That's a good question.
I can tell you that Park Slope is a whole different beast, because they're, again, very civic-minded communities who take a lot of pride in showing up and showing out and shaking tables at town halls. CB9 does not have many town halls at all. And CB9 hosts
so that's
those meetings.
There's a lot of work
again, look at this one committee. The committees, as a general matter, are pretty small. I can tell you that a lot of we talked about a little bit earlier, but a little background, even thinking back to when I first joined the committee a few years ago. And again, just as I think, Debbie, I didn't join the committee in any active way for the first 2 years, really. I really just listened and just kind of got my feet wet figuring out what I wanted to do.
Right.
But all that to say, there's so much silo that happens, especially in CB9 compared to, like, again, Park Slope is one example. There's so many people doing 80 things in their own spheres of influence that is so ineffective, in my opinion. So they're really just trying to unite us on certain things. It's really a 2021, 2022 thing to get done that hasn't been historically done efficiently. So that's the difference, this strength in numbers. And I think Park Slope has, again, as an example, many North Stars that everyone kind of gets, and they know who they can go to for everything, and they know how to unite their voices, especially knowing that everyone has an idea of the same issue. And Cece, if your stance is focused especially on having light for your zoning rights and making sure that there's certain airspaces that are restricted, and making sure that there's light for your home and for your children's future, all of the things, what does that look like for you? Again, this is a blank canvas, especially for CB9. I can say that from my experiences. So where you get in, you fit in, and do what you want and go about it passionately. You're going to find all the support you need in this community.
Okay, so yeah, so I agree with Tiffany, and there's a lot of work to be done. And now that we have a district manager, so maybe now we can, have someone that will actually be able to coordinate some of those efforts for us. So, looking forward to having, work with the district manager in those areas for the on behalf of the community. So, Raffron, are you there?
I am here.
I know that you had something that you wanted to talk about. I don't know if you have further questions. I'm looking at the time and it's going back.
It was covered. It was covered, Debbie, when we talked about the information that was brought to the board about the PPP.
Yes.
It was covered.
Okay, great. So, yeah, you're talking about the Senator Schumer.
Right.
Okay, great. Yeah. So we're just waiting for that stuff to roll out, and, hopefully Fred will be able, or the district manager would be able to provide us with that information once, he promised that he would be sending information to the community board, actually the chair.
Okay.
So hopefully, yeah. So we can
All right.
get a better sense as to what's going on with those resources. Does anyone else have any further questions? If not, then we can tie up loose ends and move to adjourn the meeting. I believe that the discussion was a great discussion this evening, rather. And I
think so,
appreciate
yes.
everybody's input. I mean, that's important, when we can all hear each other and have that dialogue. I mean, it's very helpful. And I look forward to having more discussions with everyone on the committee and trying to make
I
it
would like
in
to
our
see-
community. I'm sorry?
Sorry, Debbie. I'd like to see the final outcome of
Okay.
of the associated.
Yes.
That's kind of like
Yeah,
what
as
are
I
the
said,
poor.
I hope that the outcome is illuminating, because I mean, this, it's like you're hanging on a string and you don't know which way, right now. That's what I'm getting from, by speaking to the managers.
Yeah.
In the meantime, you have to order food because, you can't have food that expired on a shelf. So, it's a lot that's happening around this thing,
It really is.
So I'm hoping that, the outcome is in the best interest of the community residents, given our, current circumstances with this pandemic and everything else that's happening in the world.
Yeah,
which
we can only hope.
we can only hope. Yes.
Yeah, because it's private property.
Yes. Yes.
That's what ties our hands. The discussion this evening, Debbie, as always, has been really heightened with a lot of vision.
Mm-hmm.
And the more I hear them, the more I realize that we do live in not only this is the tale of not only two cities, but two countries.
Two countries, yeah. Two nations.
Yeah, it's a reality.
Yeah.
It's a reality. We cannot tell the person who owns the lot at Associated what to do,
Agree.
because that person owns it. And
Yes.
yet we have a legitimate responsibility to look out for the elderly and the
Exactly.
middle and low class people who
Exactly.
do not have the kind of resources to eat or to shop at a higher level
Yes.
from Whole Foods or some other place, or to have the wherewithal to get to the next location to
Right.
buy food. And the food for the hungry does not trump the profit for the landowner. There we go.
Yeah.
There we go. Therein
And-
lies the stake.
And not only that, the resources that, is coming into the community in those boxes, whether it's from the federal government or what, not everyone can, consume those, that type of food.
Exactly. Exactly,
So,
Debbie.
so
Exactly.
there's so much, going on that it's like, your mind is constantly going. I know mine is always going because I'm always thinking about, a way to, just get up and things are better for everybody. And it's like, it's
Yeah, and we can't give up hope.
yes,
We can't give
Yeah.
up hope.
yes. So
In your when you're community minded, the community is always on our minds,
yes.
no matter what.
I agree.
But it's so hard,
Very difficult.
so hard.
When you literally hear about things, but when you live it, it's a big difference. You know what I mean?
I'm telling you, yes.
Yeah.
Like the young lady who will not be able to sleep properly tonight because the generator will be running all night.
Yeah.
And all she gets is a letter.
It's a letter. Yeah.
So two cities, two tales.
Yeah.
She will not be able to sleep. That young lady will not be able to do her work tomorrow. If she's not gotten a night's rest. And tomorrow, if the generators are going again, it decreases the quality of sound in the community. And yet there is not, excuse me, a damn thing that seems like we can do.
Yeah.
It's just
Quality of life.
unbelievable.
I'm wondering if we can reach out to the community board can reach out to DEP to find out, or even Department of Buildings, because I mean, I'm sure that they have a permit to work
They do.
at a certain time.
They've been granted a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week permit for the
Oh
generator.
no!
which is
No, but
awesome.
see, now
We'll do
that's
something
what's
like that.
wrong.
That's
So how does
that's
everybody
what's
know about
wrong.
this?
That's what's wrong.
Wow! No, so
That's 7 days a week, 24 hours. No.
Yeah, I got
yeah.
an email back from the developer essentially saying like, we're trying not to do it all the time, but we do have this permit. But the thing is, they've been turning on at like 5 a.m. and there's actually 2 generators on President right now,
Oh
facing
my
each other, facing the residents, and like it smells. I can't open my window.
Yeah,
it's been a-
because of the fumes. Oh my God!
It's like living in hell.
So I would ask you, Elizabeth, to reach out to the board office tomorrow. Khalid,
Yes, I got the
And
email. I'll
ask-
forward I think I had when I went and looked online, the email address I had was slightly different from the one in the chat.
no, but you should speak to the district manager and have him, follow up on that, because I find that, kind of crazy. 24 hours permit? Oh, come on.
For 7 days.
For 7 days? Oh, no. Mm-mm.
Through July, I believe, is the permit.
Yeah, so that's my recommendation to you, that you reach out to him so that he can follow up and find out exactly what's going on. And I mean, if you can get a petition from your, the people in the building that you're in, I mean, I just don't get it that you have a generator running for 24 hours and I have to inhale those fumes and, get rest to go to work or whatever, whether I'm working from home or whether I'm going out to the office. And if that's going for 24 hours and I can't get my rest, how do I function?
Yeah.
That's what I think. Sorry, Elizabeth.
Thank you. I'll follow up.
Yes.
yeah.
And if no one has any further questions, I'm going to move to adjourn the meeting because it's almost 9 o'clock, and I know that, when you start talking and everything is so important, time just goes by. So, and I want to say thank you to Mr. Berman for joining us. I don't know if you have any final information that you want to provide us with, and also to Elizabeth and also to CC. Thank you. So as I said, if no one else has any further comments or any questions, I'm going to move to adjourn the meeting. So Mr. Berman, are you okay with that?
Yeah, I mean, that's again, my opinion. I understand where you're coming from. It's a very tough dilemma.
Yes.
But the way to resolve it is to really come as a community and express your needs and your wants and
I agree.
influence the
Yeah.
political process.
Yes. Yeah, because you really cannot use that divide and conquer tactic because it doesn't work. It has to be as a whole.
Yes, and these are big
Yes.
issues, very
Yes,
big issues.
and
You
I
go to
agree
East
with
New
you.
York,
Yes. I
places like
agree.
East New York, there are no supermarkets.
Yes,
The
it's
cost
tough.
of food there is tremendous.
Yeah. Yes. So
And you can't get the selection, you can't get fresh fruit
right.
in many cases.
Yeah. It's whatever. Yeah.
Whatever the local store is willing to hold.
What they can afford. Yeah.
It's very tough.
It is. Yeah. So I want to thank you for your input and for joining us at the meeting. And hopefully we will see you again.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. So I will move to adjourn the meeting. And I hope that, everyone stays well and safe. And I will see you at, if not the general board meeting, at, another meeting on next month meeting. And I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
I
Thank
second the
you.
motion.
Thank you.
Good night,
All
everybody.
right.
Good night. Thanks, Tiffany. Thanks.
Debbie, be
Thank
safe. Be
you.
safe.
Yes, you too. Thank you.
Be safe.
Okay. Yes.
Good
Thank
night,
you.
everyone.
Okay.
Stay
Good night.
safe.
Okay.
All right.